We're going to go ahead and call the Committee on Senate Revenue to order. Madam Secretary, please call the roll.
Senator Dunyate. Here. Senator Steinbeck.
Here.
Senator Stone. Here. Chair Neal.
Here. All right, we would like to welcome the audience that's here in Carson City, and also any that are in Vegas and anyone that's online listening. If you're in the Carson City, please silence your devices. We only have one thing on the agenda today, which is to hear from the Governor's Office of Economic Development. And we will go ahead and open up the presentation and call the Governor's Office of Economic Development to the table.
Good afternoon, Chair Neal and members of the committee. Thank you for having us today. This is a little bit different than the first time I had the opportunity to present to you. It was about 2 years ago. I had been on the job a solid 6 days. So again, a new experience. One of the things I will tell you that I've learned in the last 2 years as we have this opportunity to tell you a little bit about GoEd and what our plans are for the future is the quality of people that I work with. Great experience for me that the people that work at GoEd, the servants of the state of Nevada, have the best interests of the citizens of the state of Nevada in mind as they move forward, and really the ability to raise the economic level and the quality of life for the citizens of the state of Nevada. So it's with a great deal of pride that I introduce to you the Deputy Director for the Governor's Office of Economic Development, Ms. Doreen Stonebarger.
Thank you, Chair Neal, members of the committee. Again, Doreen Stonebarger, Deputy Director of the Governor's Office of Economic Development, and I am going to give you an overview of our office. So GoEd was created during the 2011 legislative session with a call to action to establish a cohesive economic development operating system, advance targeted industries, expand global engagement, catalyze innovation, and increase opportunities for Nevadans through workforce development and education. Our mission is high-quality jobs for Nevadans, with a vision of an economy that is vibrant, innovative, and sustainable with opportunities for all Nevadans. Throughout Nevada's history, business cycles have been a story of extremes. When times are good, they've been very good. And when times are bad, Nevada recovers slower than any other state. Recovery during the Great Recession was a long process. It required intentional efforts to diversify the economy well beyond where we were, and so that we could become more resilient and endure another downturn. So you can see where GoEd's office started on this graph. And you can also see that roughly a decade later, the speed of Nevada's recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic showed just how important such economic diversity really is, and that we not only recaptured those jobs that we lost, we exceeded pre-pandemic levels, which is very important. So how do we know what to target in order to diversify? Well, we've worked with a company a few times called SRI, and they assess Nevada's economic landscape as well as conducting a SWOT analysis, analysis of our strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats. And then we develop strategies and action steps to provide policymakers, community leaders, and stakeholders with a roadmap for success. Our current 5-year state strategic plan highlights our strengths towards an opportunity for electric, innovative, and connected Nevada. We have also identified target sectors to help us reach those goals. Those are natural resources and technologies, advanced manufacturing, hospitality, tourism, sports and creative industries, transportation and logistics, and information technology. At first blush, I think you can see that not only are there a lot of opportunity within these sectors, but there are also different areas of our state that are better hosts for different opportunities and vice versa. That's one area where we work with our 8 regional development authority partners who know their regions best and can further identify the industries within those sectors that will benefit their and your communities. The economic development tools that we have to attract these industries fall into 3 separate categories: business development, workforce development, and community development tools. And I am going to turn it back over to Tom to talk about the return on investment for probably one of our best-known business development tools, but not our only, but abatements. And then we'll get into some of our additional programming and impacts that we have on Nevada.
Thank you, Dorian. Again, Tom Burns for the record. I want to talk briefly about abatements. I know many of you know what they are, but just kind of a refresher. So when a company comes forward and asks for economic assistance for the state of Nevada, they most likely are coming forward and asking for abatements. And in order to get an abatement, they have to meet a number of criteria. They have to generate more than 50% of their revenue outside the state of Nevada. They need to provide health insurance and paid more than at least 65% of it for the employee or more. They have to provide a minimum number of employees, which could be 10 or 50, depending on the abatement and where it's located. If it's the lower number is typically in rural Nevada, with the higher number typically being in urban Nevada. It has to have a capital investment of at least $1 million if it's in rural Nevada, and $5 million if it's in the urban area. To be clear, rural and urban for the state of Nevada, as it's defined, is primarily Clark and Washoe County being the urban areas and everywhere else being the rural areas. They have to maintain their business in the state of Nevada for 5 years. Obviously, they have to be in good standing in the state of Nevada with all of their current licensing and laws. And currently, companies over 50 must offer paid family leave. They also must offer a weighted average wage that is the weighted average, state average throughout the state. Currently, that's $32.51. So 13 of the 24 months from December of 2022 to December of 24, Nevada was one of the top 3 growth rates in the nation. For 5 of those months, Nevada was number 1. For the first 21 months of that 2-year period, Nevada outpaced the nation in growth. Wage growth is a key indicator for economic development. It reflects the consumer's purchasing power in the economy and living standards. At GOED's inception in 2011, the statewide average was at $19.93. And as I stated, as they ended last year, as determined by Dieter, it's $32.51. And obviously, when job demand increases, wages rise due to competition for workers. Sector growth also encourages investment, productivity, and competition in the labor market. Long-term business success often leads to higher overall tax contributions, with the option to reinvest additional revenue back into schools, public services, and community programs. Businesses that are successful in a specific location often expand their operations, leading to more job opportunities for local Nevadans. That reduces unemployment and boosts boosts household incomes. Successful businesses generate revenue, which can stimulate the local economy, lead to increased consumer spending, a larger tax base, and more financial circulation within the community. So how do the tax incentives impact Nevada? Initial 2-year jobs pledged on abatement applications are conservative estimates. As of 2022, actual jobs from newly abated companies since 2012 have exceeded contracted jobs by more than 7,000 jobs. From 2023 and 2024, we are still within the 2-year growth window and not quite ready for the first audit. In the tree, in the tree chart to the bottom right, you'll notice that 40% of the jobs created by incentivized companies are in the manufacturing center. That followed by logistics and operations, and then by information technologies. These are targeted industries that are resilient and provide high-paying jobs. Here's a brief timeline on how tax incentives are impacted in Nevada over all years. In 2021, Nevada is leading the country in unemployment and foreclosure filings. As of September of 2014, Nevada's unemployment rate is fifth highest in the country, and as of January 2017, Nevada's economic growth exceeded the national average. By 2018, Nevada is leading the country in private sector growth. During the 2020 pandemic, Nevada's unemployment was as high as 30%, the highest unemployment recorded in our state ever. But by 2022, Nevada had recovered all of the jobs lost during the pandemic and added 3,000 more jobs than the previous peak in February of 2020. In December 2023, Nevada's labor force grew to over 1.6 million, an all-time high. In 2022, Nevada recovered all of the jobs lost during the COVID-19 pandemic and reached all-time high of, 1,452,000 jobs, 3,000 jobs more than the previous peak of 2020. Nevada was listed as ahead of the United States in total jobs recovering jobs. Unemployment in the state saw a rapid and ongoing expansion, surpassing pre-recession levels, and in January 2022, having surpassed pre-recession unemployment in all major industry sectors at least once as of July of 2023. As of August of 2024, Nevada unemployment numbers increased by 3.2% from the prior year. Nationally, employment grew by 1.5% in that same period. Tax incentives can benefit small businesses in several ways by reducing their financial burden, encouraging investment, and promoting growth. Tax incentives can make it easier for small business to thrive, invest, and stay competitive. Tax incentives also lower the amount of taxes business owes, allowing the owners to reinvest savings in operations, hiring, and expansion. Additionally, larger businesses often rely on local suppliers, contractors, and service providers, which helps small businesses grow and thrive. This creates a network of economic support throughout the community. GoEd provides targeted support to small businesses of all kinds, wherever they're at on their journey. Small business certifications such as GoEd's ESP program help local Nevada businesses highlight their capabilities and set themselves apart from their competition. To do that, the program helps small businesses find work and state local government agencies. Here's a few of our highlights. 109 local ESPs were certified from July 1st, 2023 to June 30th, 2024, 1 year. And getting that certification helped those small businesses secure nearly $20 million in government contracts. That's real money that helps local businesses thrive. Since 2012, GoEd has run the State Small Business Credit Initiative programs. The federally funded SSBCI provides funding to support small businesses and entrepreneurs across the state of Nevada. Here's some quick facts and figures to highlight our program. We have deployed over $13 million out of SSBCI. $8.3 million of that was in venture capital, Community development financial institutions, also known as CDFIs, have extended around $1.5 million in microloans and $3.6 million in collateral support loans have been provided. The Nevada Apex Accelerator Program helps small businesses cut through the red tape and connect business and clients to local government opportunities through education, marketing, technical assistance, and more. These opportunities mean a lot to our small businesses, especially those in the socioeconomic disadvantaged backgrounds, which Nevada Apex focuses on. From July to October of 2024, the Nevada Apex assisted small businesses in getting 318 contracts amounting to $48.6 million. Nevada Apex also helps women, minority, and disadvantaged veteran-owned small businesses. Here are a few of those clients that have been success stories. Big Fairy Tales LLC, DME Expo Logistics, Set Sail LLC, and Wise Business Plans. In short, GoEd offers many practical solutions to help small businesses grow. And with that, I'll turn it back to Dorian.
Thank you, Doreen Stonebarger, for the record. I don't think we pointed it out, but I absolutely want all of you walking away with that over 2.5%, or excuse me, $2.5 to every dollar abated is the return on investment. So that's a 250% return on that investment. But we also know that some of you want to know the effects that that has on Nevadans, not just on Nevada. So here are just a few examples. Stellar Snacks is a mom and daughter pretzel company founded in Carson City, right here. And since their abatement expansion in 2012, Stellar Snacks has created 50 full-time jobs right here locally. And I hope that many of you had a chance to enjoy just how stellar those Stellar Snacks are by participating in the opportunity on your flight up here with Southwest, and there's also, they're available in the gift shop downstairs. This is not a plug, they did not pay me to say any of this. I also want to talk about Redwood Materials as another example of job creation. Redwood Materials is located in the Tahoe Reno Industrial Center, and they are revolutionizing sustainability for lithium-ion batteries through recycling and reuse. So they're part of that lithium loop that you hear talked about a lot. And they had an abatement in December of 2022 where they had anticipated 150 new jobs by 2024. But on their annual audit, that was completed in June of 2024, they had actually created 678 new jobs. So that's exceeding their expectation by more than 500 jobs, and that's a huge return on investment. This is Justice. She was president of her robotics team at Sierra Vista High School in Las Vegas when she joined Tesla as part of their manufacturing development scholarship program. Since then, Justice has been promoted 4 times. She is now a process engineering technician 4 at Tesla, and she is an incredible example to students across the state, including her brother, who has now also joined the program. So this story illustrates the human side of what GoEd empowers indirectly through incentives. Other updates, I don't need to read these to you, but they're also great examples that may not have made the headlines. In summary, while our incentives are generating economic activity across the state, there are impacts beyond the numbers. Jobs are not positions, they're people. And Tom is going to take it from here to walk through other programming that positively affects Nevada.
Thank you again, Tom Burns, for the record. GoEd's innovation-based economic development division is leading the way in more diverse, innovative economy that benefits all Nevadans. We have a multi-pronged approach. Our 5 core pillars include increasing research capacity, commercializing research, nurturing entrepreneurship, increasing access to capital, and building a technically skilled workforce. The Knowledge Fund is the only state program to foster Nevada's innovation economy. It was developed to propel research, development, and commercialization of products by Nevada's research institutions and universities. And since launching it a decade ago, the results have been extraordinary. At UNLV, Quantum Copper is developing products to create safer, more fire-resistant battery casings. This technology will play an important role as the lithium batteries and EV cars become more widespread. DRI has conducted research at Lake Powell to study how evaporation and water loss impacts our reservoirs, a critical subject as we navigate increasingly scarce water supply. The Nevada Center for Applied Research at the University of Nevada, Reno provided lab facilities where the companies like American Battery Technology Company could develop. American Battery is helping advance critical technology to garner resources for recycling lithium-ion batteries. Our individual career mapping unit, as the world moves...
Sorry.
I apologize.
Do you want to play the Knowledge Fund video?
Oh, that's right. I apologize. So we have a video that some of you may have seen. Thanks, Stephen.
Yeah, sorry.
No, thank you. That highlights the Knowledge Fund. Here we go.
No sound.
Technology is your friend till it's not. All right. We'll address this while we're concluding our presentation and play it for you at the end. The world of work moves quickly. That's why GoEd's individual career mapping is so important. In 2024, we achieved a significant milestone by transitioning from Project Sandy to a groundbreaking ICM methodology. ICM leverages virtual reality and 3D digitally interactive STEM educational materials to enhance high-demand career pathways in Nevada. In 2024, ICM published an international paper that gives real credibility to our work. And if that wasn't enough, ICM also helped Elko County's Jackpot High School students get a 100% passing rates and earn their National Career Readiness Certificate. That's a picture of some proud young men and women. ICM is being integrated into Nevada's public libraries and workforce development centers, offering accessible labor market information and training boot camps developed by GoEd. We look forward to many more exciting partnerships in the years to come. In 2022, GoEd designated and created a talent retention program with the goal of retaining the brightest minds in Nevada's engineering and science sphere. Women and minority students from UNLV and UNR are placed with Nevada-based tech and startup companies in paid partnerships. Since the beginning of the program, several of the internships have led to job offers for recent graduates. Nurturing our young talent is a critical part of investing in our economy and something GoEd does extensively, and we'll discuss a little more in a moment. So workforce innovations. As we create more jobs and invest in the innovation, GoEd is partnering with colleges to create meaningful workforce training programs. The WIN program is empowering Nevadans to level up and take control of their career paths in targeted industries. WIN is an incentive business development program. It's employer-led, meaning that WIN funds programs are responsive to the employer's demand for certain skills sets among our workforce. Over the last biennium, WIN has provided 17 programs that distributed $9.9 million throughout the state of Nevada. I'd like to point out, I think this is among the most important things we do in our agency. This is the true measure of how we take Nevadans from a lower level of economic success and really raise their value in the marketplace. And we've seen outstanding success in the raising of standard of living for many Nevadans through these programs. The Advanced Manufacturing Mobilization Grant program is addressing the growing need for high-tech and trained personnel in advanced manufacturing. After moving to the U.S. in 2017, a young man named Assad worked in many jobs in casinos, restaurants, and construction companies. He eventually wanted a different career path, one that aligned more with his interests in automations and robotics. So he enrolled in the Advanced Manufacturing Program in TMCC, which receives WIN funding. The TMCC Welding Lab Expansion Program is helping meet the growth for the demand in training welders. For example, this student, Heather Morton, completed the Associate of Applied Science program in welding technology at TMCC. These in-demand skills will pay dividends to Heather as she negotiates her future career path. In another field, the Accelerated Early Career Machining program helps prepare students to work as machinists or to start their own companies. TMCC student Sarah Perez Juarez credits the program with giving her new skills that will open doors for her as she advances on a long career path. So why is this all so important? Advanced manufacturing is one of GoEd's target industries. Upscaling our future workforce with WIN-funded programs gives Nevadans more opportunities. At the College of Southern Nevada, student Simon Noriaga enrolled in the Manufacturing Skills Program, which received WIN funding. It helped him learn technical English and to improve his prior skills in electronics and hydraulics. Not long after his graduation, Simon was hired as a maintenance mechanic for the high roller wheel on the Las Vegas Strip. And thanks to his skills and work ethic, Simon was promoted to lead the maintenance area for the high roller. He now runs a 14-person crew. The advanced manufacturing track of the expanding training pathways program at Western Nevada College is preparing students to serve in key roles in the battery recycling industry And thank to the WIN program and support, partnership with Redwood Materials. Bless you. As of December 2024, 76 students participated in the program. Of those, at least 20 have secured employment in the industry. And so why is this program important? As part of Nevada's lithium loop, battery recycling will continue to play an important role in Nevada's future. And speaking of targeted industries, in fall of 2024, funding for GoEd's WIN program helped launch the Great Basin College NORCAT Mine Skills Training Facility in Elko. This state-of-the-art facility will deliver essential skills and safety for Nevada's mining industry, another one of our target industries. If you look real close at that picture, you'll see that the person in the green shirt, not everybody's trainable. I'll just say that. That would be in the green shirt. These are just a few examples of how the WIN Fund is supporting our workforce and the Nevada's target industries. Rural community and economic development. GoEd's Rural Economic and Community Development Division works hard to make communities vibrant and prosperous places. This important work includes the Nevada Main Street Program and the Community Development Block Program. These programs are critical to the vitality of our communities, both rural and urban. Nevada Main Street began in 2017, and there have been 24 participating Main Street organizations that represent 29 communities. Main Street funds go forward to provide unique community projects from historical preservations to arts and culture. CBDG, administered by the Department of Housing and Urban Development through the state of Nevada. These funds are allocated to cities with populations under 50,000 and counties under 20,000. Larger cities and communities receive their funding directly. Millions have gone towards community projects since Nevada's CBDG fund launched over 4 decades ago. For example, Jackson Street Alliance is a collaboration between the City of Las Vegas and Nevada Main Street in restoring the charm and culture and significance of the historical West Side. Utilizing the funding, the Nevada Main Street and others, Jackson Street Alliance will be placing a modular unit on a currently vacant lot long steeped in Nevada history. The work empowers residents through education and support. It also attracts investments to foster further economic growth. With just about 220 people in Goldfield, Nevada, they lacked a way to share positive community news and information about the cities, the towns, colorful residents, history, and culture. With Main Street funds, the community launched the Goldfield Gazette. It's a monthly publication with positive community news and information. The Gazette also provides advertising and jobs for local small businesses. You can't have economic development without community development, which is why community development block grants funds are spent on infrastructure in the rural communities. In Nevada, CBDG secures this funding on behalf of our rural communities, which might not have the bandwidth to get those grants on their own. CBDG contributed $1 million in COVID funding for the construction of the Silver Sage Senior Center in Wells, Nevada, which opened in January. Senior centers play a big role in the lives of our loved ones and nurture that sense of community that is so important to Nevadans as a whole. We're proud to bring this project to life. $150,000 went to transform the vacant hotel in Wells, Nevada, into a retail center for entrepreneurs. Here's Buckaroo Boutique owner Thasha, I think I butchered that name, my apologies, now has a brick and mortar store in Wells thanks to CBDG's support. GoEd wants to make sure Nevada is a leader in healthcare, and whether that's building world-class facilities or educating the next generation of healthcare professionals, we do this by focusing on 3 areas: training and education for healthcare professionals, healthcare innovation and access, infrastructure development for sustainable growth and job creation. Let's give you a few highlights of this program. GoEd worked closely with the leadership of the College of Southern Nevada to launch an innovation nursing education pilot program. So far, this program has educated and credentialed nearly 100 practicing clinical nurses. This program helps widen the gap of nursing and nursing educators, and that will spread throughout the state's nursing education infrastructure. The many testimonies we received reflect on the power of the education to transform lives. At the new transplant center in Las Vegas, USC's Keck Medical Center has over 40 Nevadans that have been scheduled for organ transplants. To be clear, the transplants are right now are taking place in Southern Nevada. The pre-care and post-care, the transplants themselves are taken care are in Southern California. The pre and post-care is being done in Nevada with the goal of working towards transplants back into Nevada in conjunction with Keck. GOED will continue to support the principles of this is done with Intermountain Health. GOED will continue to support the principles of Intermountain Health, which is creating Nevada's first standalone children's hospital. The effort will fortify our comprehensive care for children in Nevada and greatly reduce the strain on families. The Nevada Film Office. The 4 women that run the Nevada Film Office are incredibly passionate about the film they bring to our state. That's an understatement. The NFO markets the state as a production destination for film, television, commercials, and other forms of media. All these generate economic impact through job creation and in-state production spending. That's why the NFO offers transferable tax incentives and tries to attract productions to Nevada. The office facilitates connections to local crew vendors and services, also identifies film locations, assists with the permitting processes, and coordinates intergovernmental cooperation statewide. They are quite the celebrities in their own right in that field. As you walk into a room of their peers, they are very highly thought of. In addition to film and shows, the NFO has brought thousands of jobs for local cast and crews thanks to the online production directory. The directory is the top resource tool used by the industry professionals and their crews planning productions in our state. It includes everything from producers to equipment rentals. Time and again, it's proved to be an indispensable hub for local businesses and talents. For example, Las Vegas native Lily Capisi has used the NFO's own online production directory with great success. And thanks to the directory, Lily has done work with Netflix shows on a Super Bowl commercial and much more. And for those of you who are film lovers, the recent NFO-assisted production was filmed in Las Vegas. And if you haven't heard, the Oscar-nominated Anora was filmed in Las Vegas and received support and dedication from our NFO team. Here in Nevada, we want to position ourselves as leaders in small business, and that's why, with the help of the leadership of Speaker Yeager, Nevada became the first in the nation to create an Office of Entrepreneurship. We are forging a new path and helping entrepreneurs along the way. In 2024, the Office of Entrepreneurship conducted dozens of statewide community consultations with more than 300 small business stakeholders to learn more about the needs in individual entrepreneur communities and small businesses. A cadre was established, early stage company has received support from GOED and one of the other regional development authorities. Catherine Basso, a former U.S. Marine major and Nevada resident, founded a tactical women's clothing company, Cadre. With the support of GOED and Sheldon Mudd from the Northeastern Nevada Regional Development Authority, Catherine was scaling up operations to outfit entire teams. A huge step forward for her company, and we're privileged to be a part of her growth in some way. Another early stage company that has received support from GOED is called Sleek. UNR graduates Austin Bauer and Brennan Jordan founded a software company system, Sleek, to help users cut down on excessive cell use. Sleek benefited from G-Beta, part of the Generators Accelerator program supported by GOED. Sleek is also a partner in the GOED Design Talent Retention Program we spoke of earlier. Further evidence that we are doing to support entrepreneurs is working to keep this at the ground level. In closing, I would like to underscore the recurring theme of our presentation today. Beyond our direct business support, GOED's tax incentives have a mass indirect impact on small business. Just look at our local food entrepreneur, Marissa Tidd, who sold coffee and pastries to workers during the construction of Tesla's Gigafactory. Using this experience as a jumping-off point, Marissa and her business partner Travis eventually opened Handcraft Coffee on Wells Avenue in Reno. The pair is now working on their third location in northern Nevada. This is a perfect example of why We support innovation and an innovation-based economy. For each high-tech job, 5 non-high-tech jobs are created. And finally, that's a picture of your team at GoEd. Again, very proud of those Nevadans and how they service their fellow citizens. Thank you.
Thank you for that. Members, any questions?
Sure.
Thank you so much, Chair. I got a few questions, so I'm going to start with the first one. Thank you so much for your presentation. I obviously great respect and admiration for the work that you guys do. I think it's very noteworthy, and obviously we're all on the same page in terms of making sure more companies come to the state and that they're providing good-paying jobs. It's not going to come to no surprise to you that of the question that I'm asking because it came up 2 years ago. The report that comes out every year on employers that end up with their number of employees on Medicaid. This has been a persistent issue, right? There are several companies that have been identified that have received tax abatements before from leading up to today. What is the procedure, or can you walk me through the process for when GoEd approves a company for such tax abatement or tax credit, and you guys shake hands, you execute the deal, you do the groundbreaking, they say they're going to promise X amount of jobs that are paying this amount of salary,
Yep.
et cetera, and they don't meet those obligations. In this instance, their employees end up on the Medicaid rolls, or we have to subsidize them in other fashions, or their employees end up on SNAP, et cetera. What is the process for clawing back those dollars if the company does not meet the requirements that they had signed up for?
So, thank you. That's a great question. Senator Dinwiddie, Tom Burns for the record. Madam Chair, I'm assuming it's okay to direct. Thank you very much. Senator, when an abatement application comes before us, it includes things like I described, the average the capital investment that they're going to make, the number of jobs that they intend to create, what they feel their average wage will be. To be clear, that's a weighted average. So you cannot have one person, I'll just illustratively, making $100, and then have a number of people making $5 and somehow get that wage over $50 because of the one person that makes $100. It is a weighted average that's calculated out. The entity is audited by the Division of Taxation, both at year 2 and at year 5, to make sure that they are holding up their end of their bargain. And that would include that would include things like the number of employees, the capital expenditures they've made, the number of employees that are in the health insurance, well, not in the health insurance, but the amount that they pay within the health insurance, and making sure that is at least 65%, which is where we're at in statute. Initially, up until 2015, that amount was at 50% and then raised by the GoEd board to 65%. If I may, I believe I know the company that you're referring to. There are a couple, I can speculate as to why I think they might have folks on that role. Some of those people may be seasonal employees and might not qualify for the health insurance. Often you have a waiting period before you have to you're able to enroll. The employer can't force them to take health insurance, and so some people may not. I was 24 and bulletproof once, and I'd rather have beer money, to be honest with you, so I think that happens sometimes. Those are all speculations as to why they may be on the, but some of those abatements are also so old that I don't have an answer for you.
So following up on that question.
Sure.
Does GoEd have the opportunity right now to disaggregate the data to see, for example, if I was a company, I got approved for tax abatement, I want to come back and I want to build more. As my application is coming forward, do you have the data points to disaggregate the number of seasonal employees or part-time employees that are ending up on the Medicaid rolls or on other government services? Are you able to get that data already? And if so, do you qualify that as part of the distribution of the weight, or essentially the total amount of abatement that they're going to receive for the second round is, I guess, what I'm asking. Because clearly it's not a I'm 24 years old and I don't want health insurance. They are getting health insurance. They are enrolling for health insurance. And so it's the reverse of, I mean, it could be several instances. I think the main worry that I have is, are there full-time employees that are ending up on Medicaid simply because they're not getting paid enough or because the means are not making it towards the end? In that case, are the tax abatements even worth it?
Sure. And so, your point's well taken. Tom Burns for the record, sorry. Tom Burns for the record, and Denyate. Your point's well taken. Keep in mind that the average wage is just that, is an average. It's a weighted average, but it's nonetheless an average, which means there are some employees being paid less and some employees paying more. I don't know that we do not receive data points as to those that end up on the rolls that you're speaking of at this point in time. To talk about, certainly an employer, it'd be important for an employer that wants to come forward for further abatements to be an employer of good standing. And so those were things that we would like to be able to take into account. I think that one of the things that you'll see be coming before your body in the Senate is a bill, is a portion of a bill from the governor that gives the board of directors for GoEd the ability to discern and make decisions about the amount of a percentage of an abatement that they may or might not give, based on how good of a corporate citizen they've been, whether their mission fits our mission within the state, a number of other things that we'd like them to be able to discern.
Senator Stone.
Thank you, Mr. Burns, for the presentation. And I've seen a lot of promotional campaigns in my 32 years of being an elected official of the city, the county, and another state. And I have to tell you, yours is one of the most impressive programs that I've ever seen. And I know that you like to target manufacturing because you have a significant multiplier effect. Have you ever quantified the multiplier effect and bring in the 40% of manufacturers that you've had here in Nevada?
Really, right now at this point in time, although I think that's data we can get, I don't have it off the top of my head. I can just tell you that our overall return for the state of Nevada has been a little over 2.5% or 250% to the state in that space. I can tell you that one particular manufacturer, the Tesla, returned $5.60 to the state of Nevada for every dollar. That was for every abated dollar. They paid directly back to the state of Nevada $5.60.
That's fantastic. You obviously have something defined to sell, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you've been in the rural areas, you've been in the urban areas, what is your marketing strategies? Are you marketing out of state? Because there are some states that
Absolutely.
don't have as business-friendly of an environment as you are trying to strive to achieve here, that could make us the beneficiary of a lot of good diversification. I love our hospitality industries, but we know we need to diversify so we can weather the ebbs and flows of the economy. What kind of marketing programs do you have recruiting people and businesses from other states?
Thank you, Senator Stone. Again, Tom Burns for the record. If you'd like a job in a development portion, I think I could find you work. Thank you. We have an abatement program that is arguably not as aggressive as many of the states we compete with, and I'm not here today to badmouth the assets we have. We work very hard to sell the state of Nevada. So what we have is I would term to be table stakes. It gets us to the conversation. It isn't what closes the deal. What closes the deal is the people of the state of Nevada, our business-friendly environment, the resources we have. In some ways, our smallness works in our favor because, as one of my peers once said that she lives in southern Nevada, she said there are 2.5 million people in Las Vegas, and I know all 500. And so the ability to move things along with the cooperation and a phone call in Nevada really works to our benefit. And so we work hard to make that an asset because companies make money when they get to business. So their ability to get a shovel in the ground and get their door open and start manufacturing their widget is what is really critical. And so we emphasize that a lot.
Are you doing any television advertising outside the state of Nevada?
We don't. That's an awfully expensive proposition. So we're very, very intentional. And Tom Burns, for the record, I apologize, Senator. Television's very, very expensive. right? And so we intend to be a little more laser focused. We go to conferences where there are folks that are looking to move and want to be introduced to resources of different states. So Select USA is one, for instance, that we'll be attending in May. That is a Center for Foreign Direct Investment. A lot of companies that are looking to come to the United States will be there, and we'll be there to greet them, to explain to them that their best choice is really here in Nevada.
Keep up the good work. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Senator Shelley Cruz Crawford.
Thank you, Chair. Oh, these microphones are short. Thank you so much for your presentation. I appreciate the investment in our economic development. I've seen some great work. My students, last year we worked on AB 428, where students in the state of Nevada that are doing the teaching and learning program get a tuition credit abatement. Usually students graduate with an associate, so it's about $12,000 worth of free tuition as long as they serve 3 years within the state of Nevada as a teacher. And with that, I can see a direct correlation to them paying taxes back at the state level. So I appreciate that work. I do really like Senator Donate's questions, because I want to make sure that we're not subsidizing healthcare, right? And solving one problem and causing several more. So I would love to see some work on that and requirement for employers to provide health insurance. My question is, just like he's the healthcare watchdog, I'm the education watchdog. I did get to see the early inception of the TMCC's Tesla program for getting the students ready to work directly in a Tesla factory, and I did bring this up before. My concern was that these workforce innovation programs at the NSHE institutions are pigeonholing these workers directly into those manufacturing jobs, and so making sure that the certificates they earn, right, their certificates of completion, are transferable to a career trajectory outside of being one of those plug-in, plug-out jobs. So I would love GoEd to continue working on how they can transfer these credits into an associate's degree, and I know you have some of them, and transfer it into other jobs outside of working for the Tesla factory. So just continuing that work is something I would appreciate. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator. Doreen Stonebarger, for the record. We will absolutely keep that in mind with programs going forward, and we will get you the names of the additional companies that have been able to benefit from the original TMCC Advanced Manufacturing Program.
Senator Gignate.
Thank you, Chair. Let's go to the second round. You ended off talking about the board that you guys have. It's been made in my attention that during the last meeting of the GoEd board, that there was a question that was raised as to whether or not the board must vote to approve any proposal that is brought before them, or if they have the ability to vote against the proposal. So can you provide us some context in terms of what the board's autonomy is?
Certainly, Senator Tom Burns, for the record. I have, as of today, I've requested an opinion from our DAG surrounding the NRS statutes. Within the statute, and I believe it is statute 360.750 subsection 2, it says the board shall approve if certain thresholds are made. Right? I will tell you, I think it's a tragedy, and so in that leads me to believe that I'm going to wait. I probably should wait for my legal opinion before I say. But the shall, I think, is pretty indicative of what at least the board as a whole is obligated to do. I think it is a tragedy that you have really smart people with diverse backgrounds that are appointed to a board, and we lose out on their wisdom and experience. And so you will see that in legislation that we have coming up, that we will ask that to be changed to may.
Okay, thank you. I want to continue talking about transitioning now from board autonomy to more of like transparency with some of the efforts that your division is working on. So in past discussions over the last 2 years, I have tried having robust discussions with some of the entities that have been trying to come into the state to build, right? They share with me their proposals, but then they mention, I'm just asking for clarity because maybe you can provide me some insight. They withhold information from me as a legislator because they have signed a non-disclosure agreement with GoEd. Does that happen? Is that something that is routine with the governor's office or through GoEd that you ask companies to sign a non-disclosure agreement?
Tom Burns for the record. We often sign non-disclosure agreements. And respectfully, Senator, I'm trying to figure out how it would apply the conversation with you. For the most part, those non-disclosure agreements come from my lack of ability to disclose items about the company and their search in Nevada to anybody else. So you can certainly appreciate that if you are from a small Midwestern town and you have 60 employees, and it gets out in that small Midwestern town that there's a possibility you're looking to leave, what chaos that could cause in your operation in that period of time. And so the NDA, as it most applies, is me keeping quiet about not discerning to third parties that I'm showing XYZ company around town and they build this kind of widget and they're from Des Moines and this is what they're going to do. That should be left up to them. You know, there's obviously a point when that hits when it hits our agenda and it becomes public information, and that's what it is. But truthfully, I don't know how the NDA prevents they can disclose whatever they want about their company. It primarily applies to my ability to disclose to third parties.
Yeah, that's fair. And Chair, the reason why I was asking that question is because I think as I've tried to learn and ask questions, it seems that they cannot share information or disclose information to me, and it may be from their understanding of what they signed. So I guess the question is there legal authority that you have as GoEd to enter into these disclosure agreements and to forbid legislators or the public from understanding the proposals? And if so, how long has this practice been occurring?
So I'm going to take a couple bites at that. Tom Burns for the record. I'm going to take a couple bites at that as we go through and answer if that may, Senator. There's certainly legal precedence to us entering into NDAs. As I said earlier, for some companies that would be quite a circus if it got out that they were looking to come some other way. I don't know what, and things that are, to be clear, things that are in the public domain are already in the public domain, right? So what abatements they qualify for, what incentives, unless they were coming forward for some large, that would come before you anyway, something that's outside our current statute that they've been asking for, that you would have to authorize. But otherwise, the incentives that we have on the table are the incentives we have on the table, right? So they have the ability to disclose to you things about themselves. It is, again, the obligation is held to me, because most of what they're dealing with, and maybe somebody could point out a situation where I'm off base, but most of what they're dealing with is things that are sensitive to them and my ability to not disclose them to other people. It's theirs. They can tell you where they're from. They can tell you how they make, what their widget is. They can tell you all about themselves.
Thank you for that. I think the reason why I was asking this question is it's more so as legislators, we read the news and we hear a lot of what happens without folks keeping us in the loop. And so it feels sometimes as if there are things out of our control that we as legislators, even though we control the purse, that we're not being involved with. And perhaps NDAs are a part of that rationale as to why legislators are not being or why information is being withheld from us. So that was more so why I wanted to ask that question. And that kind of leads me to some of what's presented in the proposal. So there's obviously a discussion. I want to move on to healthcare.
Okay.
I know it's very exciting for all of us.
Yeah.
You mentioned USC's their School of Medicine, how Keck is being involved.
Yep.
What was some of the decision making in terms of choosing Keck versus partnering with UNLV or UMC? Why specifically with them?
Tom Burns for the record. Currently, the reason, and I do believe long-term that center will partner with local universities. The Keck School, which is the name of the USC Medical School, had partnered with the Culinary Union. They were recruited by the Culinary Union to come here. When we found that out, we went down there to see what was. Vance Farrow is in my healthcare expertise, has a tremendous reputation in public health and in healthcare, has a relationship with them. We sought them out to see how we can expand the services to Southern Nevada. As you know, we have we have good doctors in Southern Nevada, or in Nevada as a whole. We don't have enough of them, in my opinion, and that's somebody that grew up in Nevada. So Keck had made a commitment to have a presence in conjunction with Culinary, and we thought there was an opportunity for us to expand that to all Southern Nevadans, and hopefully with the ability to get those procedures eventually performed in Southern Nevada.
Thank you so much. And Jared, I just have one more question on the healthcare front.
Okay.
Obviously, there's a consideration of Intermountain moving into this state and some of the infrastructure that they can build for us, specifically for children's services. Is GoEd going to be announcing within the next few weeks that Intermountain is receiving a tax abatement or any tax credit programs? Is that something that you guys are in the process of implementing or disclosing? If you can provide some context for us.
So I can provide overall context, because I want Tom Burns for the record. I want to be respectful to them. As one of the things that I shared with you is that for us to give an abatement, you have to export more than 50% of your revenue, right? And without having seen the business plan for the Intermountain Health Hospital, I would venture to say that they anticipate more than 50% of their revenue would be coming from within the state, and therefore would not qualify for any current abatements. Another one of the things that you will see within the proposal under the governor's bill is what we will call import substitution. I'm going to use the example first on a manufacturing operation, but you'll see quickly how it will plug into medical. There is a company that provides Tesla with a widget, and I don't know what widget it is, but 60% of their revenue comes from the sale of the widget to Tesla. They operate in the Midwest, and they would like to live across the street from Tesla up in Trick. But they don't have the ability to receive our abatements because if they moved here at that point in time, 60% of their revenue would come from the state of Nevada. And to be clear, when those were put in place, we were in the middle of the Great Recession. We needed other states to pay for our jobs. That's the reason for that. And it was wise and it was right at that point in time. We've just evolved since then. And so what we're telling that company is we'd like you to keep those 125 really good paying jobs in the Midwest. Please don't bring them to Nevada. Sounds like a kind of a silly thing, doesn't it? So we're going to allow for import substitution, which will also allow us to incentivize medical care to come to Nevada. That's not in place today, and so I don't have that tool. But what we would envision is our ability to draw specialty care. If you talk to our friends in the acute care world, UHS, those people that build hospitals, Renown, they're going to tell you that there are plenty of acute care hospital beds in both the Washoe Valley and Southern Nevada Valley. And they're experts in that phase. I'm going to leave that up to them. But I think we can all agree that there's not enough specialty care in either area, and we'd like the ability to attract a Lou Ruvo-like practice in a different discipline to both Southern and Northern Nevada. And so that would be our overall goal. Again, I do not have that tool in place as we talk today.
For that. So I have a follow-up on a couple points that Senator Dunyate made, but I'm going to start with this, I guess what you're calling it is importation substitute?
Import substitute is the...
I know there's a bill, but what are, just hypothetically, what are the guardrails to make sure that won't be misused? Because the way I'm hearing it is that you're trying to find a way to give out-of-state companies a pass on employees that are not here so they can fit under the statute?
So again, we're gonna have to demonstrate, Tom Burns for the record, Senator. We'll need to demonstrate that this is a hole in our supply chain. So I'll go back to the illustration of acute care hospitals in Reno and the Las Vegas area. There are plenty of acute care hospital beds in both those areas. It would be insulting to take a company like Sunrise Hospital, has been in our valley for 60 years, take a pile of the money that they've paid to the state of Nevada and give it to one of their competitors to set up shop across the street, right? That's not what we're trying to do, because that doesn't increase the revenue or the care for the people of Nevada. That only takes the average number of bed nights that we're gonna have and splits it splits up the pie one more time. That's not what we're trying to do. We would have to be able to demonstrate that there's a lack of that talent or product within the state of Nevada, and it's needed within the state of Nevada in order for it to qualify for that.
Okay, so then I have a dovetail question to that, because hopefully the bill makes it over here. Is going back to the transparency question that was being brought up.
Sure.
So we know to be true in abatement statutes, it's unlimited, right? There is no cap like credits. So it has been a long-standing since 2011, and more so, right, when issues popped up, that we are the last to know how much has been abated in state revenue that would come to us for the goal of economic development, right? The problem is that on the abatement side, where it's unlimited, it poses a problem, because when we're trying to spend for the state, for services, we then on the back end, we calculate after the decision is made. We're not brought into the decision when it's being made. Now, I know early on in 2011, because that was my first session, it was very important because we were just coming off the Great Recession. We were talking about, we need to diversify, right? It had been a conversation in 2003, and then all of a sudden we were having the conversation again because a lot of our folks were out of work. And there was like, we have got to find a way and places for our people to be. Very still true, important goal. What is now up for discussion is the method in which we are achieving that goal at the expense of revenue for the state to take care of social needs and other things that we need to take care of, right? And so I think we do need to have a broader conversation about what is the transparency versus the confidentiality, right? Because in all things, there should be balance. In all things, the legislature that has the power of the purse should not find out that $1 billion was abated. This is hypothetical. That $1 billion was abated, and then we are reading it in the paper. That is not good governance by any stretch of the imagination, right? So if we were to just, considering where we need to go forward, right? Because you have one goal, which is court businesses, bring them here, make sure there's efficacy in the programs, make sure that entrepreneurs are getting financial support, and so that we can diversify that pool. Wonderful, great. The state has the responsibility, not just for one area, but hundreds of areas to fund and make sure that there is a right amount of revenue without cutting services, which we are continually doing, cycle over cycle. So with that backdrop, if you could change anything in the transparency versus confidentiality, what would be the nuanced change that you feel is appropriate to balance the needs of the legislature and the power of the purse to spend and support all citizens and the economic diversification activities?
That was not, Tom Burns for the record, that was not on our list of questions. this is probably a broader discussion than maybe, than this sitting in this body, and maybe more of a constitutional one. This body, this committee, in conjunction with the body of the Assembly and the body of the Senate, passed certain laws and statutes that I have to abide by in administering the assets of the state of Nevada, and we do that. I'm comfortable in that. One of the things that will drive these folks to my left and right crazy is I use the newspaper test, which is I don't want to end up in the newspaper. And if I end up in the newspaper, what's it going to say? So we work hard to stay within the ethics of the state of Nevada and the laws of the state of Nevada. And that's how they have been applied. This body certainly has the ability to work in conjunction with the executive branch to change what those things are, and I would respect that as we move forward. But right now, we operate under those, and being sensitive to what you're bringing along. Certainly, anything that qualifies outside of the statute, we would obviously need to bring you in. Little chance of confidentiality in that space. So at this sitting, I don't have a great answer for you.
Well, maybe it's a thought question, right? I think there's a need to revisit the statute, right? It's 2025. We did this in 2011. Where we are as a state, it's always good to look back and look forward because things change. But what has been consistent is not having enough revenue to take care of the services and social needs of our citizens. That has been a consistent activity, and it's also been a consistent issue that we are plagued with. There's never enough money to go around. And I think when we look at, because, when we met, I don't know if you looked at the expenditure report, and on the abatements, right, it's 2.9 billion. But when you put the exemptions, right, because we go in and put our exemptions, like Senator Flores wanted the exemption on diapers, sales tax. Okay, wonderful. Why? Because we were going to help working families with something that's very expensive. And then on one end, we're thinking, families, if we could take one thing off the plate so you can have the money for the light bill, we have an advantage as a state for that kind of behavior. There are now large questions on whether or not the advantage of abating 2.9 billion when we're looking for just 60 million to fund pre-K or a gap in Medicaid, it poses a question for us because it's not there, and nor do we have a seat at the table in the conversation. So I think there is a need to revisit this conversation. I think I had this, literally, I probably said this in 23, I probably said it in 21. I've been on revenue since 2011. But I think that it's something that I really, really want you to consider because I feel this session is one of these sessions where we need to have that hard conversation about what is the future, how do we still do economic development, but do it in a way where it's slightly different. And I think we need to start spinning in that direction. So it's commentary.
Okay, fair enough.
It is commentary. All right.
Senator Neal, Tom Burns for the question. And I'll round because the math becomes easier in our heads. Not that I believe that it said 2.4. I'll ask it for 2.5 for the sake of the illustration in abatements. So we had $2.5 billion in abatements over that period of time. Based on the information I gave to you before, we know that $6.2 million of incremental revenue came to the state as a result of those abatements too. That were not available, that would not have been available but for those actions.
And I understand all of that too. I just think that, when I read through the reports, I'm always thinking about, and there are some homegrown businesses that we're serving in various programs. I'll never take that away. But I've always had the focus of inward versus outward. We do have needs in healthcare, which was brought up.
Yep.
We do have needs for specialization. But more often than not, right, we have, I won't say under you because you're new, but we've looked at things and say, oh, we got the big fish. But the big fish, the question is, what was the ultimate benefit, right? Because when we talked about like the Medicaid numbers, it was concerning because the report, even the current report, when people read it, they're like, they won't know that, okay, the Tesla credits have been exhausted. What they see in the January 2025 report is that roughly 2,400 Tesla employees are on Medicaid. What they will see is that Amazon has 18,000 employees that are on Medicaid, but yet they received abatements. And then on top of that, they'll see in the media that Amazon is one of the companies trying to find robots in order to offset the workforce, human workforce, but yet they're sitting in the abatement pool, right? So you have poverty and replacement. So to say that there isn't a need to revisit, or I'm not saying that you're saying that, but so let me retract that. I think that's why we need to revisit, because business behavior changes. If in the deal they were supposed to employ 100 employees, but then they brought on 600 employees that were outside of the contract so they could pay them less, that is a gaping hole to me in the process.
Tom Burns, if I may, Senator, there's nothing in there that allows them to bring those employees on at a wage lesser than that they had originally advised us for.
This is true. The concern has always been how we average it. Who's averaged in? The top CEOs, CFOs, and how we come to that calculation of that average.
Tom Burns, for the record, Senator, it is a weighted average. So it contemplates the fact that, again, illustratively, one person makes $1,000, but 40 people make $50, and the weighted average of that will be drawn down to reflect that. So one high-paying person cannot alter the weighted average of what that is.
So I was trying to find my email because I had this conversation with Potts before he left, before he retired and sailed on. That there is a metric that we're using for how we do data and sub-labor data that, you know, I was questioning, like, is it apple to apples? Because I was really trying to understand. I couldn't find that email, but do you know, like, there is a metric that we're using to weigh the wages, and it is more of, I think it uses some national metrics. I think there is some kind of comparison to how we do our wages on the Dieter side. So tell me what it is, and then
Yes,
I'll
Senator Tom
recall it.
Burns, for the record. The Bureau of Labor Statistics does jobs by category, by region, for lack of a better term, and that's what it's compared to.
Yeah.
And if you look in our, you have many things to do, so I'm not,
No,
you're not
so-
waiting for our board reports to come out, I understand that. But in our board reports, our applications for each of the applicants has a sheet in there that compares each of their line items. And that's a perfect example to illustrate how the weighted average is calculated, and that it has to take into account all of the employees and the wages they're paid in that piece of paper. I will tell you, and I understand very much so where your concern is coming from. I would take it as a personal affront to give the taxpayers money to somebody that brings one rich person into our valley and does it off the back of working people. That's unacceptable.
All right. So I'm going to shift the conversation, and I am going to talk to you about SSBCI, but I want to talk about the slide 41 where you guys mentioned the Jackson Street Alliance. And I know there was a one shot in 23. You guys got $700K.
We did.
And so I know when I met with the Jackson Street folks, I was trying to understand, like, what were the multiple mechanisms. So, you know, we invited their business owners to meet with the Small Business Impact Fund, which was something that we passed last session that's under BNI. But how much has actually been given to the Jackson Street Alliance from the Main Street Fund? And for what use? I mean, it's a good use, but how much was given? Because you only had $700K, which actually was an increase, because I think in prior years it was around 300, 350. That was pretty much the cap. I know it was Assemblywoman Swank. This was her program.
Senator Neal, Tom Burns for the record. You're correct, there was an increase from year to year. I don't recall the margin of it, but it was a significant increase. Without having the grant in front of me, I'll be honest, I can get you what that number is. I don't know what it is off the top of my head. I can tell you illustratively what they typically, that money is usually used for infrastructure as it relates to the project. We phoned a friend, it was $50,000 was the amount given. And so that is often given to a specific project within the infrastructure. So it may have been for art, it may have been, and maybe our friend can help me out here, but it is often for a specific attribute or portion of the project to fund that.
So $50K was given. So this is a local project in a historically impoverished area. So how much is left in the Main Street Fund?
Tom Burns for the record, it's exhausted.
Who else received Main Street Fund money?
I can, Tom Burns for the record, Senator, we can get this body a copy of how those monies were spent. They were often spent in rural parts of our state. So Caliente, Wells, Goldfield.
Maureen Stonebarger for the record. We can get you a breakdown, but just to reiterate, there are 24 participating Main Street organizations representing 29 communities. And they all had the opportunity for funding.
All right.
If you don't mind, Senator, this is Stephen Wood for the record. One thing I wanted to emphasize about Main Street is it's not just giving these groups in these different communities funding for a specific project, but it's helping them stand up their organization so that they can then go out and raise more money and work in the community to get more. So it's not like $50,000 is the only money that they got. It just helped them to stand up their organization so that they can continue that work, if that makes sense.
It does make sense, but so just a small insight. So typically when money comes down, and especially when it's in my district, I'm always thinking about stacks. How to stack the $50K with the redevelopment money, how to stack the $50K with the new markets, how to stack the $50K with the small business impact, right? Because ultimately, all of these funding mechanisms are supposed to help the entrepreneur either develop the business, develop, a mixed use kind of setup, which is what Jackson Street is looking to do. I know they're in somewhat of the some parts, some owners are more further ahead than others, but they've coalesced so they could amass their power, right? And so, if you're not going to do another one shot, right, then they don't have another chance to come back to a Main Street program which has less criteria, right, for them to apply to try to figure out how can I, go and, like, let's say if New Markets was there so that one of them can do the mixed use. Because what I told them was that you need to take the strongest entrepreneur, build them up first so that they can act as an anchor for the rest. Because it's typically how you have to do it. Like, someone has to anchor the rest of them. But if no one has an anchor, no one's getting anything. And so I've always tried to figure out how all of the programs that we do serve the common business owner who has a dream trying to figure it out, not the out-of-state corporation.
Senator Neal, Tom Burns for the record. You can trust that we're coming before you again to ask to replenish that amount of money, and there's no reason that a project as worthy as this one would not qualify again.
And then, SSBCI. So, or a couple of questions on this one. Where are you guys at? So, I was on the audit committee when you guys had to present on the SSBCI and the audit that was done by Crossman. So I saw that there's a new report, I believe it was November 24, on the Battleborn, which is managing it. Where are we at with all of the recommendations that were in that audit, right? So there were issues where we accepted applications and they owed debt to the state. I think there were like 58 businesses that owed about $669,000 to the state, but yet they were awarded. So have we corrected this? Have we rectified this issue?
Senator Tom Burns for the record. Just a matter of context, there were a number of, I believe the number was 31, if not having in front of me, recommendations.
There might have been 31.
Yeah,
There was a nice number.
It was a significant number in totality. 3 of them related to the ongoing operations of Battleborn. The other 28 related to the dispensing of ARPA dollars, which came from the Treasurer's Office and through Battleborn. There were clearly, first of all, let me address this. We have sent a letter to the audit firm as well as to our board of directors that has addressed each of those items and how we've addressed those. I will also say that if you're asked to push out $500 million in 90 days to folks and there's no increase in personnel, regrettably, there's going to be some problems there because the funnel's only so big. And I'm not kicking it. There are things that could have done better, but again, if you're held to that standard, and at the point of what, it's just difficult to comply with that in that space.
So how have we, because you guys had I believe it was 35 million, and then if you met the metrics, then the state could have received the 100 million.
Senator Tom Burns.
Or SSBCI.
Yes, yeah. So just to be clear, Tom Burns for the record, 2 different things. So the initial money was ARPA money that was pushed through. The SSBCI money is the loan program through the Small Business Administration.
I'm not talking about the ARPA money. I'm talking
Okay.
about like the actual award that was SSBCI.
Yes, so that was Tom Burns for the record. There was $113 million that was granted, I'm going to say roughly 24 months ago. So that's a fair proximity.
Okay, so do you have the requisite staff to manage?
In managing it right now, there have been, one of the challenges is that the loan program as it relates to the SSBCI candidly isn't as competitive in many cases as the SBA loans, which means the federal government's competing against itself. But, so there are many of the programs as it relates to small business loans where it's more economically prudent for a small business to borrow money from SBA. As you can, as we noted earlier, there have been about $1.5 million in microloans that have been issued and $8.3 million in collateral loans. And that is a unique product that we're going to start to see some more of because we requested and received approval for a shift in our allocation to be able to allocate more money in our collateral program than we had been done in the past.
Okay, because where I'm going with this is that, in the audit, there were, and this was I think this is the PET, and then this was the PET applications. There were 626 applications that were unprocessed. And that was due to what you said, which was, there was a rush. You guys had closed the application process within the 4 days because that was the ARPA money. So what are we doing with now that we've had this tranche, have we reached back out to the 626 that were unprocessed to see if can they be now a part of this new tranche, the 113 million, because they came in under the ARPA.
Right.
And they were pretty much like, program is closed, you're not eligible, but how are we, because technically that information is still in the queue,
Sure.
right? We still have that information. How are we going back out and maybe giving them another shot at the apple, right? To say, hey, now SSBCI, let's see if you fit.
Sure. Tom Burns for the record. Candidly, I don't believe we've taken that stack of folks and reprocessed them through SSBCI. The program is substantially different. The PEP money was money that was grant money, and free money tends to have a lot more requests than money that you have to, that last page in the loan documents, the roughest one, is the part where it says you have to pay it back. And that's part of the SSBCI program, is that you have to be credit worthy and you have to be able to pay it back. And so it's speculative on my part, but I would venture to say the preponderance of those people are not interested in the part where you have to pay it back. But
Maybe, but that's why that collateral support part was important, right? Because it was built on the original SSBCI,
Right.
which had that 35% collateral portion.
Yep.
So, when you're trying to get approved at the bank, that 35% is nothing to shy about, right? I
Agreed.
mean, clearly that number, we wish it was higher, but, if you're saying, you have 60% of the collateral that the bank is looking for, and then you're saying, well, I want to see if I'm eligible under SSBCI, like, at least entertain the conversation, because everybody's in a different space than where they were in 2020. We're in 2025, and some people might be in a position where they can handle a loan. That's what I'm just saying.
no, Senator Tom Burns for the record, I appreciate your input. We'll rewind and find out what we can do with those folks.
All right, so that was all of my questions. I don't think anybody else has any questions.
I want to give them a break.
She's so kind. Let me say this. Number one, thank you for coming and present. You guys always come in. I guess we give you guys grief, but nonetheless, we get good answers. So thank you for your presentation. We look forward to whatever bills that you guys have that are ABs that come over here that we will see. I know there's some other stuff, but either way, we appreciate your time coming up and giving us and providing information for us. Thank you.
Chair, thank you, and the committee members, we appreciate your time. And honestly, if we can't answer hard questions, maybe we shouldn't be doing the things that we're doing. So they don't bother me. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. All right. So we will open up for public comment. Is there anyone here in Carson City for public comment? Is there anyone in Las Vegas for public comment? BPS, is there anyone on the phone line for public comment?
Chair, the public line is open and working. There are no callers at this time.
All right, so we will go ahead and adjourn Senate revenue.